away free money. You are tossing away free money for your child if you do not take advantage of this. I cannot stress this enough. Okay, welcome back everybody to another Domino 2810 show. I actually had one thing that I wanted to go over today, and that is something called the Trump account. So if you guys haven't heard of this, this Trump account was announced earlier this month by the Trump administration in regard to providing a substantial amount of a leap or head start for your children that are born between the years of 2025 and 2028 at the end of December 31st. I don't know if you guys ever heard about this, but this is something that I would really like to go into. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a little bit of my findings of what I found, just doing a little bit of ChatGPT wizardry, and let me know what you guys think. All right, and if you guys haven't yet subscribed, if you like the video, and also make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't ever miss a chance to see another one of my videos. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it, okay? All right, and it's this button. Hey guys, we'll just take a moment. I promise it'll be quick. Now, if you guys haven't checked it out already, we have Domino Effect Apparel. That is our merch. We've got the shirts, we've got the hoodies, we've got the hats, and a lot more. So if you just pay attention to this screen right here, we do have our bucket hats, normal hats, drawstring bags, lighters, tumblers, hoodies, and much more. New designs coming out all the time. Now, if you just go ahead and see how you can support the channel, we don't need your gifts. I would like you to have something in return. So please go check it out. It's in the link tree in the profile, Domino Effect Apparel. Now, right back to the video. Okay, and now you see my camera. This is great. I will have a better way of doing this, I promise. But let's talk about the Trump account. The Trump account is something that I found very, very amazing. If you are into investing, if you are somebody who really looks for the future rather than the short term, this is for you, okay? If you have children between this year and the 2028, this will be active starting July 4th of 2026. So let's find out a little bit about this Trump account, okay? So the Trump account are new tax advantage investments, accounts for children officially established under this year's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So what I learned about this is the Big Beautiful Bill already took out the money for this, okay? So it's already paid, basically. Already took it out. That's why we're at like a $38 trillion deficit right now as far as our national debt, which on paper sounds horrible, but as far as the future goes and knowing how this is always going to been going, this is something that you really want to pay attention to. So the idea is for eligible children, the federal government will seed the account with a one-time $1,000 contribution. And that's a one-time thing. It's not like every year it's going to be another $1,000 that you have to worry about your taxes going into to fund something like this. This is a one-time seed for this account. Now, families, guardians, grandparents, or even employers' charities can contribute additional funds up to $5,000 per child per year, which is fantastic. I used to work in finances. In fact, this is a I would say a baby IRA, if you could put it in any other way. All right, now the money is invested not in specialized savings or a 529 style college fund, but in broad U.S. stock market index funds like the S&P 500, okay, with very low fees by law, which is another huge thing, because whenever I used to work in finances, we would set people up with something called a supplemental executive retirement plan, and that was a mixture of utilizing the insurance companies for like life insurance, using that as the vehicle for tax purposes. And this is something similar, but it's going to be going by an IRA standard, if you're familiar with that. Now, who's eligible? Any U.S. citizen child under age 18 with a valid Social Security number can have a Trump account set up by a parent or guardian. $1,000 seed contribution applies for children born between January 1st, 2025 and December 31st of 2028. As I said earlier. Now, the program becomes operational mid-2026, so July 4th, as I said right here, July 4th, 2026. Okay, that's next year. So when I saw this, and I think maybe you can follow along with me on this is going to create a huge uptick in childbirths between this year and 2028 for those who are serious about the long-term gains. If they're not, then you're probably, people that aren't educated, that's why I'm here to educate you a little bit about this, are going to just shrug this off, and that's tossing away free money. It's literally tossing, okay? So what are the accounts supposed to do? The funds grow through stock market index investments over years and decades. That growth could accumulate substantially. And when the child reaches 18, the account becomes accessible. Funds can be used for higher education, first-time home purchases, or starting a business even. Similar to an individual retirement account like an IRA. Like I said, this is a baby IRA. And like most, like a Roth IRA, you have contribution limits of up to $5,000 as well. And it's per year. You build it through the compounding interest in the stock market and so on and so forth, and you can contribute to it, so that way it increases the value. We'll get into all that, okay? So the idea is give children at birth or early childhood a head start toward building long-term savings and wealth, reinforcing that American dream of upward mobility. Now, I know a lot of us have always wanted to have some type of head start in life, and people like me, I never did. I had a start when I was younger, but after everything went bad, I had nothing. I didn't have anything to fall back on. So this is a way to get people into the mindset of using their money smart, right? Being smart with the money. It starts there. It starts being smart with your budget, knowing what to spend on, when to spend, and when to save, right? You never want to just be held with so little, especially at 18. That's a very hard time in life for a lot of us. Now, on December 2nd, 2025, Michael Dell and his wife Susan Dell pledged $6.25 billion to the Trump Accounts initiative, aiming to expand the program's reach, especially for lower and middle income families, which the goal is to get an extra $250 to about 25 million children under the age of 10. And it's a small little tidbit, but you gotta think about it this way. When people say that rich people don't care about the lower and middle age class, you forget how much they donate to charities, and they donate billions of dollars. Like all across, I'm sure the rich people have donated up in the trillions of dollars in total over the past few decades. Now, their donation is intended to add that to $250, right? Which is on top of the $1,000, so it'll be about $1,250 for that first year. And once they run out of that 25 million children, then it's just going to be that $1,000 instead. Okay, so you're not guaranteed that $1,250, but it's for those who apply for it right away. So I would hop on it as soon as July 4th comes around. Now, what people criticize on this, because investments are in broad market index funds, returns depend heavily on stock market performance that introduce risk and variability. Gains aren't guaranteed. The account's benefits may favor families who have additional means to contribute. Critics argue it could advantage wealthier households over struggling ones. As with other tax-advantaged investments vehicles, early withdrawals before 18 are restricted. So the kid cannot touch the money until they're 18. It reminds me of the old days of when your grandparents would buy bonds and stuff like that and put it in your name. So then whenever it would accumulate growth over the years, you would later have something to access whenever the age limit that they set is there. Now, my problem with this, of people's complaints and their concerns, is they say, well, wealthier people have a better chance of making this really blow up. Well, of course they do. So what do you do about it? You do what you have to make sure that you can contribute as much as you can per year to get the best result. Now, you can still not donate anything to this, and it can still grow. It can double in its money, And yes, it depends on the stock market. Of course it does. Every investment opportunity does. Crypto does, stock market does. So it doesn't really matter any way you spin it. Yes, there's ups and downs in the market. That's how the market works. But this is better than nothing. So why just leave money on the table when it's presented to you, right? Now, a way that I wanted to go through this, I was like, you know what, let's run a simulation for those who are lower income families and what the possible outcomes would be for the child when they turn 18. Now, the $1,000 initial seed from the federal government, this is what the data that we're using. Okay, there's the $1,000. Family contributes on a low, right? This is a low, $100 per year. That's $8.33 a month. That's not a lot of money. Even just $100 a year, which is insane. If this is like worst case scenario, you're doing $100 a year. Based on current trends with the stock market, and we're looking at 3 different possible outcomes of what the rate of return would be for that year. And this is only talking about the return. This isn't talking like the actual return, not talking about your average return, right? 5%, 7%, 10%. Right? So 5% is going to be very, very conservative. This is very, very low. 7% annual return is the historic average. Okay. 10% annual return is strong growth over the years. Like as of right now, the S&P 500 is freaking exploding. These are going to be the numbers of a basic return of doing $100 contribution, right? And remember, it's not just you. It's also your grandparents can do it. Your friends and family can do it. Anybody can donate to this if you really want to set up your kid for success. Now, by 18, if you're going off a 5% return off that $100, you will be receiving just about maybe $43.90. Well, your kid will. Your kid will be receiving about that much by the time they're 18. 7% will be about $57.40. 10%, $10,120. So what this means, let's put it in plain English. If the worst case scenario of that 5% return off the $100 a year for 18 years, your child will enter adulthood with about $4,000, then that's enough to help pay for community college, tools for a skilled trade, first car down payment, and startup funds for a small side business. That's which one you want to pick, which route you want to go. It gives your kid options. The middle scenario, the average, 7% return. Child reaches 18 with $5,700, giving them a head start on a Roth IRA if they want to continue their investment, right? First month bills moving out, or really give them that financial buffer that they needed. And it helps take the strain off of you. Here's the thing that you need to think about as a parent and looking into the future is instead of looking for that instant gratification, look at ways of how in the future, let's say hard times come, and at that point you really want to set up your kid for success. If you don't have just that little cushion for your kid to be able to utilize that, well, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting your kid too. Now, as that 10% return with the $100 contribution, your kid's looking at about 10 grand. Are you kidding me? I didn't even have an opportunity like that. That's insane. So even 10 grand is a fantastic way to start. And that's $100, right? Now, granted, these are simulations. This is not guaranteed because there are the variables that come in as the stock market. It can go up, it can go down. It can go higher than the 10 grand. It can go higher than the 4 grand. It can be lower, but it's still something. And it doesn't mean that you're going to be losing money as far as it goes. Whenever it gets to that point, you will still have something to work with. Now, for lower income Americans, this flips the script. Instead of relying on government dependency, this is ownership, equity, investment. The heart of the American dream. It's absolutely true. I have always been saying, stop suckling on the government's tit. Because when you become dependent on this, you only rely on that and you are not being able to be self-sufficient. That is not self-sufficiency. That is entire dependency on a government. And we shouldn't be doing that. Now, the small amount invested early compounds into real, tangible wealth, not handouts. This is a way to teach your kid to not have to worry about the need for financial assistance from the government. Teaching your kid how to do it on their own. This is why a lot of conservatives praise the Trump account. It builds long-term dependence, not long-term dependency. This is true. You do not want your kids to be dependent. You want them to be independent, so then that way they can progress through life and know how to tackle hard times with being responsible. Responsible. Why wouldn't you want that for your kid? Put a one in the chat if you agree. Now, let's go on to the worst case scenario. And this is for the people who are like, dude, Dom, I can't do $100 a year for my kid. I'm barely making it with what I have. Okay, I hear you. This is why I said we're going to go over every scenario. I want you guys to know that there are ways to go through this, even if you can't contribute anything, okay? And I made that simulation for this as well, just off the $1,000. Let's say you just went off the $1,000. If you did the $1,000, right, even with the 5% annual return, you'll be looking at potentially doubling the money at $2,400. Right now, it's a very conservative number, but the child at least ends up with $2,400, more than double than that seed money. And with an average, if it's a 7% return, then the child reaches adulthood with about $3,300. That's almost $3,400, right? That's a starter emergency fund, a trade school funds for tools, seed money for a small business, or tuition towards community college. And that's something that they at least will have something, instead of having to worry about, oh, you need to save. You can teach them that to save for their future, but then they'll also have this account as a backup. It's always good to have a backup and not be reliant on hopes and dreams, right? 10% would be about 5 times the amount just from that $1,000. At 18 years old with $5,000 or $5,500, that's not a bad deal. That is not a bad deal. That's real opportunity. It's not dependence, it's equity. So the next one that I did, I ran a simulation. Let's say for those of you are able to do the max contribution, that's $5,000 a year. Well, what this would look like is your child would enter adulthood with $143,000 plus. Think about that. By 18, $143,000. If you max contribute, that's a 4-year college degree, down payment on a home, launch capital for a serious business. I can tell you, because with Domino Effect Apparel and doing these, yeah, it's cost about $100,000 just for this. Just for doing this business. It's been over $100,000. I can tell you that. It's not cheap. But this at 18 is insane. And that's at a low at the 5%. That's being very conservative. Let's look at the 7%. We're looking at $173,000 plus by 18. That's generational wealth. That's starting a legacy. This is the beginning of your kids' future for the rest of their lives. And if you teach them to be smart with it, there you go. It's about investment. 10%, nearly $234,000. That's $250,000. You're looking at close to $250,000. And of course, this depends with the market going up and down, up and down. Now, people like this, I recommend you get a SERP, a supplemental executive retirement plan. And I would do something like that later. If anything, I can recommend to you a really great financial consultant that can handle that kind of stuff for you. I'm no longer licensed, so in fact, I just let it go. I was like, I don't want to go into finances anymore, but I understand it and I understand the value. So what this means for you and your kid, this is what we champion as conservatives, okay? Ownership over dependency, wealth building over welfare, compounding instead of complacency. I couldn't agree more with that, because complacency is exactly where we fall in today's world. This is I need instant gratification or it's all bad. Look at the situation with Trump's tariffs. Everybody's freaked out about it. They thought that the market was going to crash. They thought everything was going to go bad. All these trade deals are bad, this and this and this, but it has been building stronger connections with different countries all over the world. People have been wanting to do more business with us. They wanting to bring their business to America, meaning having their business making their products here in America will then sell in America, so they benefit and we benefit, and it's all would benefit us as far as the finances go. That's the goal, right? That's what we want. Obviously, as of right now, we're taking the brunt of it because businesses are the ones that are raising the prices due to the tariffs that they have to cost, the balancing of the budget and all that. There's so many more intricacies to it that people don't understand. And I had to look into the tariffs thing to get it, and I finally do. And I actually like what it is. I used to not really care for it, but now that I'm more educated on it, I understand what he's doing. So the Trump account model, it proves that you can unleash the power of markets and give families the freedom to contribute what they can. The result is opportunity, not handouts. We want to teach our kids to not have to be reliant. This isn't handouts. People would tell me, well, Dom, the $1,000 that is contributed, isn't that a handout? Aren't you against handouts? I'm not against handouts. I'm not against welfare. I'm against people taking advantage of these things. Now, you can't really take advantage in a negative way for these Trump accounts, but you can take advantage of them by putting money and contributing it into the account and allowing it to grow over the years. So that's both low and high of what we're looking at as far as the contribution limits and what it could look like. Now, I ran another simulation for those that are middle income, like Dom. I can't do $5,000 a year. My bills are outrageous. The economy is not that great right now. It's blah, 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 you know? So, okay, let's do a middle ground. So with that initial seed of $1,000, you are able to do an annual contribution of about $1,500, which, let's be honest, we spend more in groceries doing that. We spend more in groceries in 2 months than what you can do in an annual contribution, right? And that, if you divide that up real quick, let's see. Let me pull up my handy dandy calculator real quick. If you do $1,500 a year, that's $125 a month. Your phone bill costs more. So with doing about $125 a month for your kid's future, okay, just with looking at a low return, 5% return on that $1,000 plus your $1,500 per year, that's going to be looking like $44,000, almost $4,500, or $45,000, excuse me, which is enough for 2 years of community college, trade school in tools, a solid first car purchase, and startup capital for a small business. Not bad. Imagine being 18 years old and starting off and like, yeah, I got $45,000. Just chilling. 45 grand. Just chilling. I'm starting my years off the right way. If you teach your kids to be responsible, they're not going to blow through all that money. 7% return, historic S&P average, looking at about $54,000. Now, that's nearly a full 4-year public college education, a substantial down payment on the first home, or a serious entrepreneurial launch fund. Now, the way I see it is if you had about 50 grand and you're wanting to go through school or build a business, which would be my way of going, that's such a huge head start, even for middle class. Now at a 10% return, mind you, these numbers are not guaranteed, okay? It could be higher and it could be lower rates of return. But this is ballpark, right? Because you can't really predict the market, not that far ahead. But even with $74,000, that's transformative. That's transformative. This is how the middle class builds generational wealth. This is how you start learning and teaching kids how to build a legacy rather than trying to be stuck in the rat race and having to go through all the failures that you had to go through. The point of failing is to learn to never fail again. So I'm sure all of us can agree that there are points in time where we have failed and we wish we knew the things that we know now. This is how you teach your kids how to do that, but be humble about it, okay? So that is kind of the rundown about the Trump account and why it's important to really look more into it, to try to find out what you really want to do as far as getting your kid's setup. And I highly, highly implore you, stop thinking about the instant gratification. Stop thinking about the how you can benefit quickly and the get rich scheme kind of deal. Let's stray away from that and work on building generational wealth for not just you, but for your kid, because they're the future. Our time has come. It's their time, and we got to give it to them. That's about it for this video. I just wanted to go over some of that amazing information on the Trump account and the way that I saw it, as far as why he wanted to do something like this. Is remember about the massive wealth that he received from his father to get him started. It kind of ties up. He wants to do that for all Americans, and that's billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of opportunity that is sitting on the table if you let it. Other than that, if you guys really enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!